بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Inshallah ta'ala, we're going to continue in our review and of the book of knowledge from the summary of the Ihyaa. Uh, we reached up to the section which deals with the fuqaha and their relation to knowledge and what type of knowledge is of the highest importance. Now, go ahead. Al-Fatiha to the soul of Imam Ghazali. Go ahead.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, said, Arrangement of collective obligations. If a faqih were to be asked about, for example, sincerity or reliance on Allah Ta'ala, he would not know what to answer, despite knowing that it is an individual obligation, the neglect of which would cause the individual's peril in the afterlife. But were he to be asked about the form of divorce known as li'an or
Yeah, Zihar.
dihar, he would be able to cite volumes to you.
Why? Because the faqih's realm of knowledge that he's concerned with is the outward rulings of the sacred law, not the inward states of hearts. Now,
Were the faqih to be questioned about this, he would say, I devote myself to it because it is the knowledge of the deen, and it is a collective obligation. The discerning person would know that had the faqih's intention been fulfilling the right of collective obligation, he should have first begun with individual obligation. In fact, he should have preceded it with many other collective obligations. This is indicated by the fact that there are so many cities without Muslim doctors, the only doctors being those belonging to the protected communities, Aql al-Dhimma, and their testimonies, with regard to legal rulings which are related to medical issues, are not valid. This being so, we do not find anyone pursuing
here's an
medicine.
indication of something that we should think about. We mentioned it before, right? That we need Muslim physicians and doctors because sometimes when it's related to medicine, there are legal rulings related to it. And it's better, and in the sacred law, that should come from a Muslim doctor. So it's a far kifayah to have Muslim doctors, and because in some cases, right, uh, the issues of medical things have religious consequences. And we need Muslim doctors who are knowledgeable of al-fiqh, the religious rulings, to give proper understandings of them.
This being so, we do not find anyone pursuing medicine, but see people competing in the science of fiqh, and especially in matters of juristic difference, khilafiyat, khilafiyat, and matters of dispute, jadaliyat, at a time when the country is full of faqihs who issue religious edicts and answer queries. I wish I knew. How can the faqihs give a legal concession to engage in a collective obligation which is already taken care of by a group of people and neglect something that no one is performing?
Mm-hmm.
What the masses mistakenly consider to be praiseworthy types of knowledge. The cause of condemnation of blameworthy knowledge. You should know that knowledge cannot be condemned in itself, but only with regard to the servants, and this is due to one of the following reasons. The first is that it may lead to some harm either to the person himself or to others, as is the case with knowledge of magic and talismans. The second is that it is most often harmful to the person himself, such as with astrology. Although the latter is not condemned in itself, it can be divided into two parts. The first is a statistical element, and the Quran has declared that the movement of the sun and the moon are calculated. Allah Ta'ala the Exalted says, The sun and the moon run their appointed courses. The second element relates to verdicts, ahkam, which are the result of deducing the course of events from their causes. This is similar to the deduction made by a doctor of some illness from a person's pulse. This
Mhm.
is but knowledge of the workings of Allah Ta'ala's laws, exalted is He, and His pattern in His creation. However, the sacred law condemns this type of knowledge and warns against engaging in it for three reasons. Firstly, because it is harmful to most people. For if they were to learn that events occurred according to the movements of stars, they might think that the latter are the real influence, and thus people's hearts would glorify them, and remembrance of Allah Ta'ala would be erased from their hearts.
And we should understand for this means are not having an effect in and of themselves. Rather, true effect of means comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the actual doer of all things is Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Now,
The weak person sees only the intermediaries, and only the man of knowledge who is firm in his knowledge knows that the sun, the moon, and the stars are subjugated to his command, glorified and exalted is he. Secondly, the verdict derived from reading the movements of stars is pure speculation, which cannot determine an individual's course of events, either for sure or by conjecture. Therefore, deriving a verdict from reading the stars is only a judgment based on ignorance. Thirdly, this type of knowledge yields no benefit, its least harmful aspect being to indulge in an idle matter of no use. It is to waste one's life, the most important commodity a person has, on something that has no value. This is surely utter loss.
mhm,
The third reason relates to indulging in knowledge from which one does not obtain the benefit that one normally expects. This type of knowledge is condemned as far as the individual is concerned. Examples of this would be learning the practical details of a science before learning its general aspect, learning the hidden aspects of a science before learning its apparent aspect, and searching for divine secrets. People should be stopped from researching into these areas and should be directed to what the sacred law has unequivocally stated. In this, there is sufficiency for the person of success.
wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Let us stop here with that, as I didn't want to go over the 8 o'clock time. Sister Amina, you had a question. Please go forward. Go ahead. Allah. Mhm. Allah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. What page is that we stopped?
Page 11, the second subject, the second heading at the bottom, 1.3.2.
Can you do me a favor? Uh, okay, great. Mm. If you have a cast on your leg and arm due to a surgery and you can't remove, how do you make al ghusl? There are details to that. First question is if you had it on in a state of, before you put it on, were you in a state of complete tahara in terms of a wudu? Because if it's on your arm, I'm talking about. On your leg, for wudu, it's not problematic unless it's on your foot too. Uh, so what you would have to do is, if it was put on in a pure state, you would make all of the areas that you can wipe that are not with the cast, you wash them. And then when you get to the cast, you make a tayammum and then continue. and you should repeat those prayers. There are a lot of details to that subject, though there are other ways to do it, but they're more lengthy. That's just the easiest thing to do. Mm. Tayyib, inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to stop early today. Uh, and we'll tonight at Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Um, Sheikh Walid al-Rifai will continue with the 40 hadith. Uh, inshallah, I'll we can read over the section of Cass uh, maybe tomorrow or something. Let me review the detailed cases and give you more detailed information. Inshallah. Tayyib, barakallahu bikum. May Allah reward you all. And I'll see you tomorrow. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.